pretend that we're
I
like,
know.
there's a million of us here.
Okay.
We're in the same ballpark.
Yeah, it's okay.
They go into the Delta. Yes, okay. So good evening, I'm Audra Bove, Superintendent of MSAD 60. Thank you for joining us this evening. We are here to talk about safety in a general term for what it means to our school district and our schools. We're going to provide an overview on some of our procedures that we have in place for all of our schools and facilities, and then we're going to go through some of the drills that we've been practicing or will be practicing with our student body. So just in a nutshell, each of our buildings has a safety committee, and those committees meet routinely throughout the school year. And those committees can tackle anything as big as the safety plan for the building, and as simplistic as like ice on the playground or ice on the pavement and everything in between. So anything that falls under safety is at the purview of the committee. The biggest role, however, of that committee is making sure that the safety plan for the building is up to date and has all correct information as far as contacts and the procedures and protocols that we use for our drills. Each school has cameras. They have cameras throughout the inside of the building, outside of the building, and the building secretaries are able to review those live stream as they're happening as they come in. Everybody in the office is trained on how to use and look back at the cameras if they need to. And we have a buzz-in system because the doors are locked. So when you go to a building, you'll buzz in and then you step into the office and you are typically asked what your purpose in the building, and you sign in and you can move to different parts of the building. Our elementary schools have, because of COVID, our elementary schools started using Pick My Kid, which is an app for student pickup. Each of our buildings had pickups ranging between 80 parents per day up towards 150 parents per day. And having that many people in a building at dismissal was a very busy time, and COVID just allowed us an opportunity to kind of look outside the box a little bit and see what ways we could streamline that process so that we weren't having a lot of people in and out of the building. And it really worked well for our staff and our students and our parents, so we're continuing that even though we are out of the pandemic. So what we really wanted to take a moment to talk about are our drills. And each of our schools participates in 3 drills. We participate in a lockdown drill, fire drill, and an evacuation drill. And this is where we're going to be somewhat general when we talk through this, because there are very specific parts to these drills, but we don't want to release all the details and that information out to the community, but we just want to make sure that we're sharing what we can overall about what these drills entail. So I am going to ask our 2 resource officers from our district, Officer Fogg and Officer Kelker, to come up and just talk through some of the drills and the training that our staff has participated in.
Not standing by the microphone or anything, right? So we both of us are ALICE certified instructors, which ALICE is a form of training for violent critical incidences, or what used to be called like active shooter events, stuff like that, which is workplace stuff, school stuff. And so the whole staff and the whole district, with us kind of spearheading it, has been trained by ALICE. And we've all gone through the steps. We've done drills, we've done an online part, they've done it in person with me or Johnny, and then they've also done practicals where we put them through some stuff that is kind of, I'd say pretty intensive for the most part, maybe a good word for. And then, and it just, the point and the meaning of ALICE and what we had talked about with Audra is from the get-go is just a lot of these incidences, a lot of times the teachers don't feel empowered to make the right decisions that are right for them in their particular situation. So we wanted to empower them and give them options that they could do. And it doesn't just give you the opportunity to go into a room and just sit there and do nothing. It kind of empowers you to actually take steps and do something, which was big with Alice, and it was big when we did the training with all the staff, that they felt that it was empowering. So that's kind of what we did with that. You have more you want to add to it?
Yeah, what we did was we worked our way through each of the buildings throughout the district at all levels in all of our towns. And we worked through the ALICE program to implement an online training with the assistance of the school and technology for all of our staff. All staff members at that point afterwards completing the online portion received instructor-led retraining, kind of on the same material to make sure everybody was on the same page and what those protocols and procedures look like, what that option-based response entails for our staff members. And then we created scenarios, again, went through each of the buildings within the district, and we put our staff members through instructor-led controlled scenarios for different response options for different situations that they could potentially encounter within the school. That was really, really well received, and our staff felt much better having gone through something like that, having a better grasp on the concepts that they learned through the online training and through instructor-led. And then to piggyback on top of that, what we hope to be doing in the future is continuing with those drills where we will be working with our staff members, age appropriate, additional scenario training that will in some way, shape, or form involve our students. And that is what we're working for coming down the road, to make sure that we really reinforce the things that we've already learned and how we're going to effectively and appropriately teach our kids and implement those things as we continue to do drills with our actual students in the future.
Yeah. And all of it is with the thoughts of just trying to get to a place where we feel, I wouldn't say 100% prepared, because you can never be 100% prepared for any of that stuff, but where the staff and the kids feel they have options and they're more prepared. And I think as a district already, from what we've done, that we're 100 times more prepared than we were a year ago to the same point for something like this. God forbid it ever happened. We don't ever want it to, but you know, I feel as a staff we are 100% more prepared for it. And that's what the point of this was, with the work of Audra really cutting me and Johnny loose on it. So the big thing again is that we're trying to now, we've got the staff trained, we're trained, we work with we've got an app going that's going to be a communication aspect for the fire guys, for EMS, for us, and also for our dispatch center. And then, so what we're trying to do is get all that stuff going 100%, which we're not there yet, but we're getting there, and then getting the kids involved and letting the kids know their options, and obviously listen to the staff member primarily in a classroom or something bad was to happen, but that's what the next phase of this is going to be. So we take questions.
Could you just talk a little bit about how elementary may look a little different, how it could look different at the grade levels?
So, I mean, so ALICE, just to explain what ALICE is, I know I've said it a couple times. So ALICE stands for Alert, Lockdown, Inform, Counter, Evade, which is basically just steps that you can do in a violent critical incident. But some of the things that it teaches you, like for older kids, there's this thing they call swarm or counter, or you could do counter with kids. Swarm is not so much. Swarm is basically like tackling the assailant. You know, we're not going to be teaching that to probably K through 7. I mean, they recommend, I'm pretty sure they cap it at 5, right?
Yep.
So the K through 5, we don't even teach that, because we don't want that age level of kid trying to, you know, overtake an assailant. You know, if a staff member or something, I've told them this, if they feel, you know, I've told Mr. Lenson, the gym teacher at the middle school, I said, if it comes across to you and you see an opportunity and you think you can do it, I'm not telling you no, I'm not telling you yes. You make the choice you think is right for you. So staff members is different, but kids in particular, you know, we don't really teach them that part. So that's one part of ALICE that isn't really incorporated, but it is making the staff more comfortable so that they can then relay it to the kid in a situation and be more clear about what their expectation. Hey, let's barricade this door, guys. Help me do this. When I want you guys to do this, and them having a clear understanding of what they can do, getting K through 5 more familiar with it, I think is huge. I don't know if I'm kind of tripping on it, but.
No, I think the important thing that we will make sure, especially with dealing with the younger kids, that the language is appropriate, how these things are talked about, and that especially for the younger kids, the training and what is going to happen in those scenarios and drills is really going to be more led by the teachers. So for that group, those scenarios or drills, when we do that training, we'll be finding creative ways in a sensitive and age-appropriate manner to get the kids to buy into what the teacher needs them to do, given whatever the scenario may present to them, so that we give them a couple of different things to think about. And we know that will be much more effective than not going over any type of scenario with the kids. So there'll be much more staff involvement on that end, and as we go up through the age groups, we know that kids that are a little bit older and more mature, physically capable, they're able to do other things than our elementary school age kids would be able to. So those scenarios and those conversations would sound and look a lot different to make sure that everybody is on the same page and understanding. And we have the same goal, we just have a different way of getting there depending on what group we're working with. So always trying to bear that in mind as we go through these next steps in terms of our scenarios that we're gonna run. Anybody else?
Travis?
Question, Mr. Travis?
I think that the big thing that me and Johnny really just want to implement is that, we're not out to try to scare people or make them, unfortunately it's the world we live in these days, and we're just trying to make it, again, you can never prepare for every aspect of stuff, and we're going to try to do our best. That's why we've worked really close with Audra and, the staff, because we want to roll this stuff out to the kids but not scare them. And that's why we're kind of letting the parents know, and now we're, to get questions from you guys so that you guys are comfortable with it, so you know what we're going to be saying to your kids. So your kid comes home and says, hey, we did this crazy drill today and we had to throw stuff at somebody or something. I'm not saying we would do that, but that's an example. So now you've kind of got an idea of what it is that we're doing and why we're doing it. And the ultimate goal is to be a little more prepared in these tough situations. So that's the ultimate thing, to give the staff and the kids the tools to be able to make the right choices in these tough incidences. So, is that it? You want us to?
That's good, thank you.
All right.
So in addition to our lockdown drills, which is basically what we just spent some time talking about, we do run fire drills, about 10 a year per school, and then we run evacuation drills. We also have in each of our buildings, we have reunification plans for if we did have to leave the building and not re-enter, and we do have points throughout the building and the campuses where students, they know that they can have meetups. Those spots are not going to be things that we're going to release for information about where they are. One thing we did want to emphasize with reunification, if we had to evacuate the building and not return, it's really hard to think about not coming to pick up your child. That's something really, really a tough thing as a parent to think about. But if we have a mass entrance to the facility when something's going on, and we're not able to really check in who's on campus, who's off campus, that can make the job of identifying who, did a child go home with their parent, did a student go with another student and get in a car and drive off. So it's really important and hard as a parent to hear that, but we do ask when possible that we're looking for parents to remain off campus and guardians to do so. If something were ever to occur, we would certainly release the information about where you would be able to meet up with your student. That's very important to say. So just kind of circling back to our drills, when we go through a drill, each school submits that information on a spreadsheet in the central office, so that we can just make sure that we are all complying with the drills that we need to focus on during the school year. And I think that's pretty much those are the highlights that we wanted to share this evening. Are there any additional thoughts or questions? Okay, thank you.